Joachim Christensen is a former member of the Frankfurt Galaxy, in which he was a two-time ELF All-Star and an ELF champion in 2021. The Danish international is formerly of the Gold Diggers and also of Wagner, a Division 1 program. He is currently listed as 6'4" and 300 pounds. He is also AFI All-Europe and a three-time Danish champion. He spends most of his time in the centre position, but I do believe he could play in a guard, although he is best used in the middle of the line. He is recently transferred this season to the Rhine Fire. He is such a superb anchor in the middle of the line. I think he's probably my favourite in all of Europe. He just absorbs contact excellently. His hands and elbows are aligned perfectly, his feet are fluid, and he just takes what the defensive line gives him and then uses all that energy to put it back into the defensive lineman. There are elements of him reaching towards players on the line rather than just going towards them, so you could argue he is a little bit passive on pass protection, but he has the strength and the ability to move so well that I don't believe that this is a major issue. More so just getting him to be more aggressive and cleaning up that area of his game. Although his engagement is at times passive, when he does engage, he does come with pop and explosiveness as an athlete. And I want to make this very clear, it is rare that he reaches for players, there is just evidence that he does. Majority of the time he is coming to get them and he does it extremely well. Although he is 6'4", he uses leverage excellently. You can see in his clips that he uses his hands and drives up through the shoulder pads of the D lineman. On average, Sullivan is sacked 2.5 times a game over his time with the Galaxy. Very few of these, however, are interior pressure. Once he does get hold of players, it's just simply not getting out of it. And because of his feet constantly moving, it's almost impossible to drive him backwards into the pocket of the QB. I of course talked about his leverage ability, but pad level also comes hand in hand with that. He gets low and explodes through his hips into the D lineman. There's also very good awareness. Like if he doesn't have a person coming into the A gap, he will redirect himself and use his balance and anticipation to chip block players on their way in, ultimately making the whole line better and improving the whole team, elevating his teammates. I also really like the way he moves laterally across the line, always scanning the field and options on the line of scrimmage. Because of his size at 6'4", he is a slightly oversized centre as far as centres go, and I think that he uses his length and his athletic ability to really make himself a bit of a unicorn in that position. Being critical, if he does get caught in his back foot, his backwards movement isn't what I would call the elite standard. Although it is very good, it isn't at the top echelon of being that backwards moving centre. So if he is hit with a really explosive move from a D lineman, like a bull rush that really sets him off that back foot, he may see this negatively affect his pass protection. Hence why he has had so much success and not very many players have been able to put him onto that back foot. But with the increase of athleticism at the D-line position in the ELF, we might see it kind of phase in that some players are maybe able to exploit this. My notes about him being passive in pass protection do not translate to run pro. He's aggressive, he's angry, and he really gets out and pops players with that explosiveness. I would argue that he's never had an elite running back behind him. This is evident by the fact no player in Galaxy history has ever achieved over 500 yards. Every player with meaningful touches for the Galaxy at running back though has averaged over 4 yards per carry, with the exception of Sullivan who had 3.74 and is of course some of those would be scrambles. I firmly believe that this is largely because of Christensen. As the centre, his impact to the run game is imperative. He's strong, he finishes really well, he can get up to the second level and he just creates massive holes for his running backs. He creates these holes using that length and that punch separation that he can get on that initial contact. Of course, we're not going to see that back foot motion on run protection, so he can be even more aggressive and can really impose his will on the D lineman. He does lower his head sometimes in contact, meaning this could negatively affect his vision and maybe even his durability. This again isn't a big hole in his game, it's just something that I feel is important to point out. Overall, he is an excellent example of a European offensive lineman. For weaknesses, that back foot and hesitancy is probably what I would put as his weaknesses. His pop, his movement and his length are what I would say are his main strengths.